Okay, so we are going to talk in English just because the entire event is going to be recorded and will be also shared online. Good morning, my name is Simon Cotter, part of Oracle. I'm so happy and proud to have today with me here other companies like Extraordy, Red Hat and Storeware. And yeah, first of all, thanks for joining us today. It's very important to have you here for us. Yeah, it's a cool thing because last time I met Sandro and all those guys was about 1 year ago. It was in Milan. It was the Ovirt conference 2018, and over there I shared the idea or the thought that Oracle was going to start to also work on Ovirt. And I'm so happy that after 1 year of that time, we are here, and so we are also able to guest this kind of very important event. And that said, let me hand over to Sandro. Sandro, correct me if I'm wrong. You are our Ovirt community manager, right?
Yes.
Okay, and thanks again.
We have just facciamo solo una breve prima, diciamo prima.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
No problem. Okay.
Right.
So, thank you, Simon. So welcome here, and we are now start with our panelists, and thank you to reach us from the Ovirt community, Italian Ovirt community, and Extraordy. That is we will have a talk with Extraordy then and the learning path, and we are hosting this event. So for those who want to make some question in Italian, feel free to ask a question in English or in Italian. Of course, we will answer in Italian if the question will be delivered in Italian, and in English if it will be delivered in English. So,
Yes, thank you very much to be here. Grazie per essere qui. I wanna say something. First of all, thank you to Oracle for hosting us for these incredible events, and thank you to Stefano Stagnaro for his really hard work organizing this event. We try to push every time on sharing knowledge. Sharing knowledge means community events like this, means open training, means sharing of knowledge through web, through real life event like this, and through training, classical official training. As you know, we represent also, first of all, training. It's a core. It's a really important. That's it. Enjoy your day. We will be here for any question, any information, any deep knowledge you need, whatever. And first of all, sharing community, open source, and think together for increasing the community. This is our first goal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
and all the panelists will be around, of course, even during lunchtime. So we can just take one of us, ask whatever you want. So we will be all the day here around. So talk and ask us whatever you want. Thank you, and welcome to Sandro Manazzola, Ovirt community manager. So for the please. Yes.
Okay. Hi everyone. This is my fourth time coming to Rome and the fourth time presenting Ovirt community, but it's the first time that it comes together, being in Rome and presenting for Ovirt community. Welcome everyone here. Now I'm here today for presenting the Ovirt project and the community behind that. I work for Red Hat. Within the Ovirt project, I'm managing the integration team and the Ovirt node team, and I'm taking care of the relays of Ovirt. And I'm taking part like a community manager for Ovirt. Ovirt is an open source project. Not many communities are like this one. so it's a bit peculiar. I will present the peculiarity of this community. And the project has been traditionally governed by a board that up to last year was composed by the members of the Open Virtualization Alliance. You can see a few names that you probably recognize. And 2019 has been a very important year for Ovirt because things changed a lot. So the Ovirt board changed. Some companies changed logos, some companies left the board, some other acquired others. But we are still independent as a society. So updating the Ovirt board for this year will mean giving a warm welcome to the new members of the Ovirt board, Doron Fediuk and Martin Tessun. We have here Martin today, will be presenting. And we really thank all the Ovirt board members that contributed so far. Ovirt project is not a standalone project. It's part of an ecosystem. It relies on KVM, Ovirt, QEMU, and many others like Fly for the basic stuff that needs to be used for running virtualization. But that's not limited to that. It also interacts and is able to talk with other projects like RDO, ManageIQ, OKD. And also it's tightly integrated with the operating system, Fedora, CentOS, CoreOS. Positioning Ovirt project within this ecosystem means positioning Ovirt within the hybrid cloud infrastructure. And within that, it's focusing on the bare virtualization, just in between the bare metal operating systems and the beginning to move toward private cloud and public cloud. It's a very mature project. It started in 2009 with Kunranet acquisition by Red Hat. And it has been open sourced 3 years later in 2012, providing the first community version of this project. Its growth till today, it's now 10 years since the acquisition of Kunranet. And we have already plans for the next release coming in 2020, or maybe a bit before. We just released it last week, 4.3.6. It introduced support for CentOS 7.7, introducing a lot of security fixes. So if you have not yet updated, please do. We also rebased on top of the latest version of Ansible, Wildfly, and GlusterFS, and still introducing a few nice features like the ability to select the exact version of NFS for the NFS storage. We are starting to support 4-key block size storage. It will be completed in next release. And we added priorities to non-enforced affinity groups for that. But that's not the last and only news from last week. Last week, also CentOS announced the availability of the new operating system, CentOS Stream, which will live side by side with CentOS Linux. For Ovirt community, this means that the development flow will be a bit different, like in the past. We are still targeting Fedora as a best effort tech preview and development platform, so we will still working on that. But alongside with this, we are also starting developing on CentOS Stream that will provide us an environment for getting early access to the features that will be introduced later in RHEL and then consumed by CentOS Linux. This is accurate for now. We are still trying to understand how CentOS Stream will behave and how we will collaborate with CentOS, introducing new stuff that we need for Ovirt. Talking about the software, for those that doesn't know Ovirt, by the way, who doesn't know Ovirt up to today? The first time that you heard this name? Okay.
Opposite question.
Who's using Ovirt in production? Okay.
I'm
Glad to hear that. So for those that don't know exactly how the Ovirt project works, Ovirt is a software that is developed to be able to manage a whole enterprise data center. So there is a component called Ovirt Engine, which is a manager, and it's accessible through like a web application. And through this web application, you will be able to connect to different data centers divided in different clusters. And you will be able to manage the storage, the network, the host itself, taking care of the updates of the host, and also of the VMs running on those hosts, being able to start, stop, migrate VMs here and there. And for each of these components, cluster, data center, host, etc., you can define policies. For example, there was one for power. So if you are not running many VMs on some host, you can define a policy for migrating all the VMs from that host to another, and then shut down that host for saving power, and turning it back on when the load is getting higher. This is how the web application looks like when you access the administration portal. It will give you a dashboard showing you how much of your resources are being consumed right now. This screenshot is taken from the Ovirt data center, because Ovirt is also consuming Ovirt in their system. So here you can see we have 9 data centers with 15 storage domains. We have some of the storage domain which has big utilization and some others that are less utilized. And if you click on some of those elements, you will get exact details on what is going used. The Ovirt infrastructure team asked me to renew their request to the community. If you have some hardware that you are dismissing or you want to get rid of, we will be glad to take it for the Ovirt data center. There is also a user portal that allows to give access to the virtualized machine to non-privileged users. So using this, you can define group of people or single people that can use specific VMs. The web application also provides interfaces for automation. So you can access all the functions that you can use through the web application, also using REST API or bindings to programming language like Python, Java, or Ruby. And we also have Ansible roles and modules for accessing those parts. I added an example playbook here for updating the world cluster. It's just a few lines of code, and it will just stop some VMs, keeping only the bare minimum alive, and it will take care of upgrading the world cluster. We asked community how community automates their own data center, and 62% of them responded, we are using Ansible. So I think this is the most tested and production level way for automating your cluster there. The community also provided us some stories. So we asked which products are based on Ovirt. Traditionally, probably the most known was Red Hat virtualization, but as Simon told us before, from starting this year, also Oracle is providing a downstream to Ovirt. And there are other less known distributions, Nimbus, AIUN, which is a Chinese distribution, and UDS Enterprise, which is a Spanish, I think, distribution. And we asked who's using Ovirt. Well, the first answer is Ovirt is using Ovirt in their data center, and we are not the only ones. There are also big societies like the Brussels Airport, which use Ovirt in production. Extending a bit to the world, they didn't give us exact stories, so this is just guesswork from the user mailing list for Ovirt. We have also stuff like Barcelona Supercomputing Center, which is using Ovirt or one of the downstream project for that. So, focusing to the Italy, since we are in Italy hosting this conference, I tried to collect from the mailing list some names. So I'm happy to see that universities are focusing on Ovirt for their data center, but also some of the companies that work here in Italy are using it. So we asked the community on which distribution they are running Ovirt. And the majority of them are running on CentOS Linux, with a good percentage of the users are using Ovirt Node. For those that don't know Ovirt Node is a custom image of CentOS Linux with Ovirt package pre-installed, and it's the most tested distribution that we provide to the community. We also asked on which storage they are running Ovirt. And a huge amount of people replied NFS and Gluster as primary storage, but also block storage is being used. So we entered the details about the engine, and almost all of them are using CentOS Linux related stuff. 60% are using self-hosted engine. Self-hosted engine is a solution that we provided that provide high availability to the engine, and it comes like an appliance, and it's providing all the needed stuff for running the manager, and provide a high availability for that. And it's probably the easiest way for getting your data center set up. Related to this, we also asked community if they are running the hosted engine appliance in an hyperconverged way. Hyperconverged means that the hosts that are running virtualization are also providing the storage. And almost 60% replied no, but we are happy to see that at least 40% are using this solution on their system. We were also interested on which other project they are using with Ovirt, and most of them are replied Ansible. And I think it makes sense also seeing this list Foreman or other project like Ansible AUX, which is the upstream of Ansible Tower. Having to manage a huge data center really helps if you have some automation in place. Focusing on the community, Ovirt is a global community. We have communities in various places. I'm happy to be here today with Ovirt Italian community. And I'm also happy to have seen this year coming the Ovirt community in India, which is a new entry in this scenario. Looking at the population in this community, it's also nice to see that we are second to Myanmar. But we are close. We are going to surpass them. We also asked in which language people prefer to speak in Ovirt community. And I'm also happy to see that in terms of people talking in the mailing list, we have at least second, like in Italy. So we are just second to the English-speaking person. We also asked community how they prefer to communicate. And I think that the user mailing list is almost winning everywhere. So if you have something that you want to tell to the community or ask a question, I would strongly suggest to ask on the user mailing list. We also asked community how they want to contribute to Ovirt. And it's not surprisingly that most of them replied, I will open a bug if I will find it, which is nice. So we will be aware that we have troubles to be fixed. But I'm also happy to see that someone replied, I will contribute code or documentation at least for helping the other. And there is also a nice percentage of people telling we're going to organize event. So I'm happy to be here today thanks to those 17 people that replied we're going to organize events. But there are other ways to contribute. You can also filing bugs, but just joining the mailing list or the other social media and just participating to the community discussions. Or help localizing the software. Italian community is the first community that provided full localization to Ovirt. So congratulations to Italy for that. Also promoting Ovirt on social media or just a coffee break on Twitter or organizing meetup. Or joining the surveys like the one that I presented before, just telling us how you use Ovirt or how you'd like it to be. Or donate hardware, like the infrastructure team asked. So that's it for me. Thank you, everyone. If you have questions, I will be around the whole day. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Sì, facciamo un attimo
Questo lo lascio qua.
un attimo via, così facciamo che blocchiamo su. Hello everybody again. My name is Stefano Stagnaro. I'm a Red Hat instructor and consultant working for Extraordy. Extraordy is a special Red Hat partner that will be presented in a later speech. So now we are going to look at the self-hosted engine setup. It's a very easy setup, and I don't think it would be necessary, but okay, thank you. So it's a very easy one, and it provides high availability for the engine out of the box. That means that with self-hosted engine setup, you don't have to carry about the high availability of the engine. Engine will be already high available, but this kind of clustered solution. This is the environment we are going to use in this demo. Before starting with the demo, I want just to tell you that you can feel free to just ask me any question even during the presentation. If some question or some doubt arise, just interrupt me and ask me anything you want in English or in Italian, doesn't matter. So why we are choosing self-hosted engine as the deployment solution? As Sandro was telling before, self-hosted engine is not, of course, the only choice we have for the deployment. We have at least 3 choices. One legacy, where the engine is installed somewhere, and when I say somewhere, I mean somewhere not monitored or controlled by Ovirt itself. That could be a physical machine, a virtual machine on another virtualization cluster like VMware or KVM or anything else. It just means that we are not taking care of the high availability of the engine. this is something sometimes ends up on the engine not being high available because the customer or just does not take care of it. And a common question is what happens if the engine goes down? Okay, if the engine goes down, of course, since it's the end point for all the tasks and commands for virtual machine, I will not able to start new tasks like migration, starting new VMs, and so on, even if something could be triggered from the host itself. The whole life cycle will be interrupted in terms of I will not be able to trigger new tasks, but of course anything will be still running, so no virtualization or networking or storage task will be interrupted. Besides that, it's something that I want to avoid. I want my engine always high available. So even the first choice, the legacy choice, is to install the engine wherever you want. Now the best choice, promoted as the default one, is to let Ovirt takes care of its own engine. It's very similar with what VMware does with this vCenter appliance. You don't just have to take care of the vCenter. In the past, we were used to install it on Windows and so on, but now there's a beautiful Linux appliance. I will do a lot of comparison with VMware, because of course vSphere is the leading solution, and often people are coming from VMware as a main experience. So, or maybe KVM experience. So feel free also to ask me and all other panelists if there is a comparison, there is a replacement for what you are used to use with vSphere or other virtualization solution. So as I was previously saying, the self-hosted engine solution means that we are going to install an hypervisor host first, not the engine, because we don't have yet a place to install the engine in a high available way. So the self-hosted engine starts with the installation of the first hypervisor host in a manner that of course will be different from the installation of the other node in the cluster, because this is the first one. Here we have it's just like which is born first, the chicken or the egg. Okay, in this case we have the chicken, and then the egg is our engine, even because we download it as an appliance. So we will start to cover the installation of the first node. And for this purpose, we are going to use Ovirt node image. Ovirt node, as Sandro told you, is a Tape 1 bare metal hypervisor. That means that it is a very teeny operating system based on CentOS, of course, that brings all the necessary software for the Ovirt, not only in terms of virtualization, but also in terms of storage, on network, even software-defined networks. Everything that is needed by Ovirt in the hypervisor side is covered by Ovirt node distribution. It's the best distribution to deploy a self-hosted engine, and we will look at it because it's very easy now with this graphical wizard. In this solution, we are using a very standard data center storage, like a storage area network. Of course, most of you are using, I think something like Fiber Channel, since this demo is, of course, this demonstration is virtualized itself, we are using iSCSI just because it's software and it's easy to replicate. But I know that most of you in the data center are using fiber channel as a block storage solution. It means we can consume block storage solution as well as file storage solution like NFS. It's very easy. If we don't have block storage, what is the best and the easiest solution to deploy? NFS. So NFS is also supported. No, question later. Ok, please.
Facciamo in italiano.
In italiano va benissimo.
Ma quindi diciamo, per questo tipo di installazione c'è un package che contiene sia il hypervisor che l'engine.
Il primo pezzettino vi faccio vedere è proprio il download dal sito, vi faccio vedere quali pezzettini abbiamo bisogno per iniziare.
Ah, ok, e poi invece per gli altri nodi invece solamente la parte di hypervisor.
Esatto.
Ok, è un'altra
sì?
cosa, sì. Nel caso uno volesse fare appunto iniziare a vedere, diciamo, però in un ambiente, diciamo, non ha i nodi fisici, potrebbe utilizzare come laboratorio, chiamo così, per vedere un attimino anche un'ulteriore virtualizzazione, cioè nel senso che creare i nodi a loro volta sono delle virtual machine.
La mia demo è nested, è annidata.
Ah, ok.
Io le demo ho un bel portatile con 60 giga di... No, VirtualBox magari no. No, scusate, no, per dire che... Ma non perché non funziona bene VirtualBox, è perché il nesting funziona sempre VMware su VMware, KVM su KVM. Il nesting funziona bene quando i due hypervisor sono gli stessi. Funziona anche nesting diverso, però l'ideale è farlo. Però su Windows abbiamo sempre, ci sono Simone poi magari vi dice due cose, cioè su VMware funziona bene, su VMware Workstation
non è testato, cioè sul continuous integration è nested tutti i test che facciamo KVM su KVM. Altre cose in teoria funzionano, non le proviamo.
Però
e sulla rev?
KVM?
Sì. Quindi se
sulla rev. Sulla rev sì, basta abilitare il flag nesting.
Sull'OpenStack?
Sì, l'abbiamo fatto anche su OpenStack. Sì.
Volevo sapere se c'è una motivazione tecnica, te lo dico in italiano.
Certo.
Perché te hai portato per esempio VMware, no? Come leader di mercato.
Sì.
Volevo sapere se c'è una motivazione tecnica per cui non è stata utilizzata la stessa filosofia del docente che è vista in VMware come una macchina assistante che non è dipendente dal nodo dal punto di vista dell'installazione e anche dell'aggiornamento. Cioè perché arrivo al punto della questione,
sì?
Perché mi sembra che come aggiornamenti la parte di VMware è più semplice rispetto alla parte di Ovirt per aggiornare la versione. Proprio perché sono due mondi molto separati.
Allora, vediamo le due cose. Vediamo tutte e due le cose, nel senso che così approfitto anche per ridirlo in italiano quello che ho detto prima. Cioè, sono disponibili tutte e due le filosofie, sia quella di avere l'engine, quindi il vCenter, installato a parte.
Scusate, parlo già nella parte iperconvergente, cioè nella parte in cui c'è sempre engine, cioè la macchina usante è virtualizzata.
Ok.
In VMware viene mantenuta la stessa filosofia come se fosse una macchina GeoPay, come se fosse una macchina staccata dal nodo da cui dipende. Infatti ci puoi fare aggiornamenti, ci puoi fare invece nella parte di Ovirt la componente nodo su cui sta andata la macchina virtuale che fa da usante è molto dipendente.
Sì, adesso lo diciamo, nel senso che, se ho capito bene la domanda, non è una VM qualsiasi, cioè la VM dell'engine è virtualizzata, ma non è ad esempio l'high availability delle altre VM. Esatto, vabbè, infatti stavano dicendo stamattina, adesso poi
We are going to fix it for
a future release. Ok, ma al di là di questo, il punto è che innanzitutto anche VMware dalle ultime versioni, l'high availability del vCenter non è l'high availability di tutte le altre VM, è comunque una high availability che ha più accortezze per il vCenter, e quindi Ovirt l'ha fatto per primo, cioè Ovirt ha iniziato a prendersi cura dell'engine come testa del suo stesso cluster in un modo particolare prima che VMware iniziasse a farlo per la sua appliance. Il punto è che la availability deve essere diversa, perché la availability per tutte le VM è una availability fornita dall'engine. La availability dell'engine non può essere la stessa, deve essere una availability fornita da delle routine che invece stanno sull'host, perché se lui muore non può prendersi cura di se stesso. Quindi in questo senso noi andremo a scegliere quali host si occuperanno di questa cosa, non tutti. Quindi se è questa la domanda, sì, c'è un livello di complessità in più, chiaramente. C'è un livello di complessità in più, quindi se io nel mio data center so già di avere, come accade nei data center molto grandi, tutti i miei control plane, sia dal punto di vista di networking, sia dal punto di vista della virtualizzazione, i vari vCenter, i vari engine, tutti da una parte, bene, quello toglie un livello di complessità e sarà molto più lineare. Ma molto spesso questo non è possibile. Io non ho altro hardware o altre soluzioni per occuparmi dell'engine. E allora qui c'è la risposta. Però alla fine dello speech vi darò due cose sull'aggiornamento, perché effettivamente l'aggiornamento è leggermente diverso se usiamo self-hosted engine rispetto a non averlo il self-hosted engine, ma leggermente. Quindi sottolineerò proprio l'accortezza che bisogna avere prima di fare l'aggiornamento.
Scusa, posso inserire un attimo, dato che forse dal deploy iniziale sembra che ci possa essere una limitazione. Tu nel deploy iniziale parti col primo nodo e installi l'engine sul primo nodo, ma quando è un environment a regime, ad esempio con 4 host e un engine, tu puoi per esempio addirittura pilotare la live migration dell'engine stessa dall'engine senza mai perdere il controllo. Quindi al di là della gestione, diciamo, del disastro, che c'è una sorta di suo arbitrio interno per cui viene riavviata la macchina virtuale dell'engine in caso di problemi, però non è limitata all'host dove tu la installi. Dopo l'engine self-hosted può girare su qualsiasi degli host della tua infrastruttura.
Secondo me il problema maggiore è proprio nell'aggiornamento dell'ambiente.
We will cover this part of the upgrade. We will cover this part of the upgrade. Okay. So just go ahead. As I was already saying, I'm going to show you exactly what are the steps to start with a deployment. Besides that, in my previous slide, there were also addressing and host names, and that I have reported. This is because the most important part when you start the deployment, before start installing your Ovirt node, is to provide the correct addressing and name resolution. Ovirt itself heavily relies on DNS. That means if you don't have a correct resolution for your node and the engine itself, the installation could fail and you could have problems. That means that the best way is to provide this resolution with an external DNS, of course. But if you don't have DNS, just for testing purpose, you may want to add host entries in etc host. Is not the best solution, but it works. Of course, you will have to take care of the configuration of all etc hosts for all of your nodes and even on the engine. Something is doing automatically with Ansible in the engine side, but please control if all the etc host file have all the resolution. But again, the best solution is to have a DNS. DNS is natively clusterized in more than one node that provides name resolution. Most of the problem when people start with proof of concept installation is when resolution is not correctly provided. When I say correctly provided, I mean both A records and PTR records. So transmission one and back to the resolution. These tests are performed by at the installation times. So even if you have add A records, maybe the PTR is missing. So, and even if you have maybe double entries, the installation checks all of these possible errors that could end up in big problems in production. So it will check it at the deployment. So, first thing is to download Ovirt node. Of course, I made a video because then we can use this video and provide to you on the internet. The first things with Ovirt node is to download the latest version of Ovirt node. Just look at the latest one. No matter the date. Just look at the oldest one. Ovirt node NG stays for new generation because we had an old one in the past, and it's an ISO file. You can just flash it on your USB stick, of course, or if you have a more structured data center system like Blade, sometimes in Blade environments, you have ILO or Direct providing storage, providing ISO repositories for installation. If you have a Blade managing system where you can put the ISO, then it's fine. You can boot from there. If you don't have this kind of board management system, just flash it on a USB stick and boot from the USB. Then it's fine. That's enough. But even if it's enough, I will suggest you to move to RPM and also download the engine appliance. You don't have to, but for disconnected environments, if you are going to a customer, you are not sure about the connectivity from the data center to the internet, then it's best to carry a copy of the appliance itself. Appliance, it's an OVA, a classic OVA like in VMware. It's enveloped in an RPM because everything in Red Hat community world is deployed in RPM, just because RPM tells where the OVA should be put inside the node. I will tell you when and where to install it if you have a disconnected environment. So with the node, with the OVA, you have everything it needs to start even without internet connectivity. Sometimes some issue arise in the sense of some package still search on the internet, but are some bugs that we are fixing. So it may happen, correct me if I'm wrong, that sometimes the installer asks for a package that is on the internet. Of course, it's a bug. Please report this, and we will fix very, very quickly, of course. Imo image, okay. Now we have matrix. Okay, it happens. Sometimes it go out of the control of the continuous integration system. So sometimes a package go out and the installer asks for the connectivity. But it's something that should not happen. So if it happens, just report it and we will fix it. But with the Ovirt node ISO and the O appliance, you have everything you need. If you don't want to download the OVA, then the installer will try to download the latest version of the appliance for the internet. That's not a problem. Okay, it will take care of it. So, we are going to turn on the first node. I'm powering on the first physical node. For those who are guessing, yes. For my demonstration, it's not a physical node, it's a virtual machine itself. In production, it will be a physical node, of course. And just install Ovirt node. Ovirt node installation is for those who are already using CentOS, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, is very, very similar since it's coming from CentOS project. So the installer is Anaconda. It's a special version on Anaconda, specifically tuned for Ovirt node. So it means you only have a few choices. Just maybe the keyboard, the time zone, and time synchronization is very important in virtualization clusters. Be sure that all your nodes as well as the engine are synchronized with the same time sources. The partition, now we have already seen it, but as you can see, I didn't choose any partitioning system. I just asked for a default partitioning. This partitioning is not the one presented.
Just a note about the time zone. It comes with default to UTC because if you have multiple data centers, also geographically distributed, you want to have the same time.
Yeah.
If you want to get events from the host and the engine to match.
That's correct, especially when you have one engine controlling more than one cluster. So better have all your cluster not in a specific time zone but in UTC. Yes, thank you. The partitioning system is not the one that is set to default in Red Hat Enterprise Linux or CentOS. It specifically is for Ovirt node. Var, Verilog, Audit are all installed in separate partition. That is because it's what an hypervisor node needs, space for logs. We don't have any production data on our hypervisor, only system data. So the only things that are stored are mainly logs. So if you don't have any specific requirements, then go with the default partitioning. It will be fine. You will never run out of space since you are going to use shared storage, of course. This is a critical part. We will have to take care of the host name, of course. So please be sure to provide the correct name. Check if it's reflected here. And then, as well in CentOS, check the automatical connection. That means on boot, yes. Since it's not, you will end up with a non-configured, configured but not active interface. Be sure to have Oriole configuration. DNS server, of course, is very important. We are going to use in this demo, in this first demonstration, only one interface. But I'm pretty sure if you are using software storage, like NFS, that you may want a second interface to reach the storage, not the management one. Of course, if it's fiber channel is there is a card that will take care of it. But if the storage is managed by the software, like NFS, like iSCSI, you may want a second interface to be configured now to access the storage. Since we reach it on a storage network, not on a management network, of course. This is very similar with what happens with VMware. So I have to have my network plan very clear before starting. Please use a password here. Host password will not be used rather than you will want to access directly the host itself. Then reload the host. Of course, please detach the ISO and turning it on again. It's very fast boot because it's a very thin image, as I was saying. Just log in to test it with your credential you have previously chosen. At the boot prompt, it says OK. This OK means I have done a lot of checks and they are all ended up OK. If it's not OK, you have a lot of commands to troubleshoot the issues, but OK means everything is OK. And then it show up a URL when we can reach the web interface for the node itself. When we are going to use this interface? Just when we are going to deal with the node itself. Maybe we have problem with the engine. Maybe we want to trigger something on the host in particular. It's something is not the daily use. But in this case, we have to start the deployment of the engine. So the first place we are starting is this web interface. The interface has not been developed from scratch. It's been developed as a module of Cockpit. Cockpit is the new Linux, CentOS, and Red Hat interface. This very modular. It's a very well developed project. We are going to log in as as with Cockpit. With the Linux logins, Cockpit does not is stateless. It's completely stateless. So does not have any user database or configuration. It's just use Linux configuration. Ovirt know this Linux, so the user we have used before just gave us the permission to enter. This, of course, is the Ovirt engine module installation presented, and it asks us which kind of flavor we want to have for our deployment. Why there are only two and not all the free installation? Because the first one is the one where we previously installed the engine, so it's not presented here. If we are here, it's because we don't have any engine, okay, of course. So there are only option two, free, the two modern flavor for the installation. The first one means you have a convergence in terms of the engine, the control plane, being virtualized on the virtualization cluster, or at least the first cluster we are installing. The second one is a more convergent, we call it hyper-convergent solution, where even the storage is collapsed with the virtualization host. It means our general purpose host have all the roles, the compute roles, the network, the storage. Of course, will be a software-defined storage. We are not going to cover it today. But if you have any clue, any question about hyperconvergent solution is provided with GlusterFS as the storage solution. GlusterFS is a project very strict with the Ovirt community. Our two community very narrow. So it provides, of course, software-defined storage. Not only for the virtualization, we will not only provide the storage pool for the virtual machine, but also the storage as a network-attached storage, as NFS and Samba for the clients. So it will be just a hyper-convergent solution for branch office, remote office, with a couple of nodes, 3 nodes, for instance. You have all you need to provide virtualization and storage for your clients, and then maybe to virtualize virtual routers, virtual firewall. So with 3 nodes and 1 switch, you can have everything is needed to replicate part of the data center in your remote office. But we will take care of it in another presentation. We will going to have a video on the internet for this. So we will start with the installation hosted engine. Thank you. And the wizard will ask us for a couple of questions. Of course, here we have to fill with the information we decided before. You see, when I choose Ovirt engine.ovirt, it was the FQDN, the fully qualified domain name. It starts a test. This test takes a couple of seconds, and he's going to test if both DNS query and reverse query are satisfied. We can choose between the static or dynamic. All the cluster can be deployed with the DHCP, of course, with MAC address reservation. We have to know, it has to be predictable. So if you have MAC address reservation, that DHCP is fully supported. If you are not sure, then please go with the static IP address. It's very important to choose here what we are going to do. Please, the password here is only the password of the engine virtual machine. Look at the check has ended up correctly. And then choose how much memory to reserve to the engine. Most people ask, how much memory I have to reserve to the virtual machine? Because people are concerned about not wasting the memory, of course. The default and the recommended amount of memory is 16 gigabytes RAM. 16 gigabytes is more like what VMware says, 16 megabytes. Please remember that you are not wasting 16 gigabytes, since only all of the gigabytes that are not used are regained to the whole cluster. So if the engine is consuming only 4 you are only consuming 4 gigabytes on the node that are virtualizing the host. So you don't have to worry about it. But it's better to give the engine all of the memory it takes, rather than have the OM killer kills something on the engine and does not have your admin port. For demonstration purposes, you can go with at a minimum of 6 gigabytes. Now I have developers that will yell at me, of course, because it is. But for demonstration purposes, in the past was 4. But since there are also installed the data warehouse system, then it's better to go with 6 if you want to have your demonstration working and to have a clear proof of concept. Maybe 6, 8, okay? Here again we have a password, but it's the password of the application. Mi sono fermato? Sì?
Posso fare una domanda stupida?
Stupidissima anche. Non ci sono domande stupide, non ti preoccupare.
Allora, tu hai detto che è essenziale che la parte DNS funziona.
Sì?
Ma se io non ho un server DNS interno?
È come dicevo prima, non è la DNS che deve funzionare, basta che hai una risoluzione dei nomi. Allora ti devi preoccupare di avere su tutti i nodi fisici la risoluzione di ETC host.
Quindi host...
Tutta completa, però vuol dire i nodi e l'engine.
Okay.
Vuol dire che su tutti i ETC host dei nodi...
soluzione zero aziendale, che non ho niente, cioè parto proprio...
Va bene, nei nodi metti in ETC host tutti gli FQDN, ma quando dico FQDN vuol dire i nomi che poi
sì.
lui cerca di contattare, sia di tutti gli host che dell'engine stesso.
E quindi semmai che gli do come DNS server se stesso, se parto da zero.
Ma se parti da zero non so neanche se serve, mentre a quel punto tu sai benissimo che su Linux l'ETC host ha sempre la precedenza sui DNS,
sì.
perché NS Switch dice prima gli host e poi quindi se non lo metti lui comunque va a vedere prima su ETC host, quindi non ti devi preoccupare di questo.
Il DNS server corretto della rete e ETC host andrà a vincere. L'unica cosa c'è forse nel secondo tab, non mi ricordo più, un flag che dice copiami l'ETC host
Esatto.
del server sulla virtual machine
dell'engine.
Perché altrimenti quello nell'appliance è buono.
Sì, perché magari
Controllate sempre DNS tutto, nel senso voi fatelo completo nell'host iniziale e poi verificate quando l'engine va su che sia corretto, perché se la risoluzione non è a posto ci sono tutta una serie di problemi molto fastidiosi, quindi partiamo con una demo che funziona bene fin dall'inizio. Sì?
Mi pare però che non puoi sniffare il campo DNS, qualcosa devi mettere.
Questa è una regexp che controlla...
Sì, nel senso che comunque quella macchina anche solo per fare un YAML update dovrà risolvere qualcosa. Cioè prima o poi sull'engine dovrai fare un aggiornamento o dovrai riuscire a raggiungere la...
Però se non c'è niente, piuttosto se lui vuole qualcosa mettete il default gateway, non funzionerà, il deployment funzionerà perché prima guarderà ETC host e poi lo metterete a posto, cioè il punto è questo. Prima ha chiesto delle indirizzi email, non mettete, io consiglio sempre di lasciare qua tutto standard, you can configure your own email address here, but it will harass you with a lot of emails, will be very annoying. It's not, we have a lot of, a couple of ways to monitor our Ovirt system. So email is very basic, but it can end up with very annoying email sent. So just leave the configuration. Okay, then I will start my configuration. It will trigger an Ansible playbook that it's installing the engine where we haven't provided any storage information. Yes, because now the engine is being installed locally in the first node. Since storage and engine configuration are two critical tasks, to have them decoupled means you can take care of the first phase of the installation, so to the deployment of the engine with the local storage, and then to choose the shared storage and to move the engine to the storage. That means that if this is going to end up correctly, it will be not affected if we have storage problem. Storage is addressed separately in point 4. So since we are using a software-based block storage solution like iSCSI, we have to provide an IP address of the portal. Of course, if we choose a fiber channel, we don't have any IP address. Just say, look at the storage you find in locally. But I choose the iSCSI since the terms of portal loans are similar. So, of course, if you use NFS, it will be just a share. It's more easier. You have a couple of loons I have prepared for my demo. I have prepared a big one for like data stores for the VMs, and one for the engine itself. That is an important point. Yes, now iSCSI admin utility is triggered, cioè va a chiedere, è l'utility SCSI admin che fa. Se usi Fiber Channel è un utility Fiber Channel, se usi NFS è un mount NFS.
Allora si illuminino qualche parte un albero di Natale di monitoraggio della scansione.
Perché sta al termine di sicurezza?
No, è una SCSI da Discovery.
Lui lo fa sul path che gli hai dato. Lo fa se tu gli hai messo un IP, fa una discover
fa le SCSI Discovery
su quel path che gli hai dato, non cerca in broadcast, no, certo, sennò poi magari hai delle appliance che si impazziscono e ti cominciano a segare tutto, certo. As our president is saying, we have to prepare a storage only for hosted engine. This is very important. You don't have to mix the storage for your virtual machine to the one reserved for the engine. This is for your safety, not for his safety. Is because if the engine storage is failing, the engine virtual machine fails, but you still have virtual machine runs, and you have time to recover the engine storage and to redeploy the engine storage for the backup. If the VM storage fails, your VM stops, but you still have the engine to start the recovery of the storage domain that have failed. If you have both you in one storage and it fails, it ends up you don't have the virtual machine, you broke the business continuity, and then you have to first take care to redeploy the engine and then to redeploy the storage for the VMs. Of course, if you provide, like me, the two storage on the same portal does not have any sense. It should be two different paths, two different arrays. Of course, it's just a demo. It does not make any sense to have two looms of the same portal. But this is the reason behind this choice.
Una cosa che ho notato nella versione di Ovirt che abbiamo utilizzato noi, non so se è stato corretto o aggiunta la feature nelle successive, è che una volta scelta lo storage domain in cui mettere l'engine, non si riesce più a fare la storage domain migration.
Cioè cambiare lo storage domain. Rispondo a questa tua domanda, ok?
Riguardo la taglia del disco da assegnare all'engine, sì, il default è quello, e diciamo si sta sempre su quella taglia indipendentemente dal deploy, cioè in base a quanti host deve governare.
Sì, cioè nel senso la taglia consigliata è questa, non credo che ci siano ragioni particolari per cui dovrebbe crescere. L'unica magari se c'è il data warehouse.
Se hai il data warehouse full e hai un grosso parco macchine che viene o un data warehouse su una VM separata o con un disco.
Sì, cioè il discriminante è il data warehouse. Il data warehouse è quello che è un modo diciamo un po' legacy di fare telemetria, però Ovirt per il momento ha questo, e lo fa con un database Postgres, che non è il database dell'engine, è un database solo per la telemetria. E lui fa una collezione abbastanza tranquilla di dati, ma se io gli chiedo quella spinta, quella full, e ho un parco macchine grande come diceva Sandro, questo può crescere. Allora di solito piuttosto che rendere questo grande, a quel punto delego all'esterno il data warehouse.
Il data warehouse è una cosa che si
di default così è già dentro. Se io non lo volessi dovrei fare un'installazione diciamo command line e non grafica. Grafica di default mette dentro un data warehouse con una collezione di telemetria abbastanza tranquilla, dico io.
Chiedevo sulla taglia perché diciamo la versione precedente, non una delle ultime, comunque facendo l'installazione noi sul storage avevamo messo una taglia un po' più grande, 100 giga, ma cioè le prime volte che abbiamo provato a installarlo mettendo 100 giga non era arrivato in fondo, poi abbiamo lasciato gli 80 e è andato a buon fine.
Questo magari lo possiamo vedere dopo, cioè magari era un bacco di quell'installazione, ce ne sono stati diversi, magari era un bacco del deployment che si aspettava qualcosa invece che un minimo, si aspettava un valore particolare. Questo poi magari ne discutiamo. The previous question was about can I move this storage from the day one and forward? Yes, you can change. You can choose to change the storage. It's covered in the documentation. And to sum up, I want to tell you the end of the story is you have to prepare the new storage, take the engine backup, and redeploy the engine on a. It's very easy. You don't break the productivity. You don't break anything. It's just a matter of redeploy the engine in a new storage, and it all covered by Ansible. So it's very easy. You have just to take care of a couple of this procedure. You have to follow a procedure that is well documented, and then just in the past was not easy, specifically when it was not covered by Ansible, but now it's straightforward. Of course, you have to take care of the preparation of the new storage. But if you want, you can exchange a bit about. We can talk about this later of the movement of the storage. But you can do it. I have done it on customer side, so it's straightforward now. But of course, it's something that you can be worried about. So this is the storage, and now you just try to initialize the storage, prepare it, and move the virtual machine. If you have a failure here, we are not going to lose our virtual machine. We have not to start from scratch, but just from the last task. Okay? So again, is an Ansible playbook that runs, and it ends up with the engine up and running. So, of course, we are not going to use the IP address of the node now, but now we are going to reach the engine IP address with the FDQDN engine that we have chosen. Okay? Please be sure to reach it with the very same FQDN that engine is configured. The problem is when you don't have DNS, and this name is only resolved for the cluster and not for the for your web browser. So you have two choices if you don't have the DNS. Add an entry in the host file of your Windows or your Linux or your Mac, and that would be fine. Or add an alias in the engine and says also accept queries for this other alias or IP address. It's easy, it's well documented in the installation documentation. So you have two choices. But if you have DNS, then it's already resolved. Here the login is with admin, and the password we have chosen at installation. The internal domain does not mean Linux. Internal domain means JBoss, Webfly is the platform, the Java platform on which the engine is developed. So it's a local user. You can add all the repository external identity source you want, like free IPA, like Active Directory, like LPlane, LDAP, anything you want. So we are going to see the storage. I'm running out of time, so just I'm going to fast forward. I'm going to add the second and biggest storage domain. Storage domain is the alter ego of data store in VMware, is the same. It's an abstraction layer. So just to add the bigger one for the VMs. This is the way for which you are going to add any storage from day one ongoing. So any storage that you have to add after the installation is covered with this section. Of course, I have skipped the time of initialization, but it's very straightforward. So you have both storage data store. Since this version, of Ovirt, you can upload not just disk image from the web, but also ISO image. So you don't need any more ISO data store. Like in VMware, you can mix disk image and ISO image in the same data store. It's very useful because ISO domain are only NFS. Here we can use block storage. So we add the second host, and then we end up with this demonstration. The second host has to be added in this way. Of course, I have already installed the host with the Ovirt node, but without any configuration. Just install it, provided it with the correct IP address, and it's enough. I will take it from the engine now. All the other hosts will be grabbed from the engine by this one. The very important part is this one, when I choose the hosted engine deploy. That means also this node will be capable of taking care of the engine. That means deploy all the brokers and daemons that will take care of the engine high availability. It's not something that I want on all of my hosts in the clusters. Just 2, 3. The host that you are going to design for these tasks. Again, you can have errors like this one. I say I have to cut these errors, but then I say no. Why cut these errors? I haven't turned the host on. It's better to power the host on before using them. Okay. This is a common mistake of mine. Don't turning the host on. Another error I ended up was because I haven't the host was installed, but I haven't enabled the virtualization on the BIOS. Of course, when I add a host, it will check if the virtualization is enabled. Otherwise, it will end up with an error. So now I have correct these very stupid errors of mine, and the both hosts are up, and you will see 2 crowns, the gold crown and the silver crown. Gold means engine is here. I have the engine, so you have to have special cares of this host. The silver means I can take care of the engine, but the engine is not here. So you can migrate the engine between the host you have chosen in the deployment. And the silver crown means, okay, if the crown it have an exclamation mark, it means I have a deployment for the engine, but I having some problem, so I'm not still ready to host the engine. But it's well covered in a documentation called hosted engine troubleshooting. So for all of these tasks. Now it's fine. We are at the end of the presentation. Now we have bot storage. We are going to have an upload. Here I'm going to upload an ISO. That's fine from the web interface. Very easy, very straightforward. And then my presentation had with the creation of a virtual machine. I choose to install a disk. Ovirt to support both thin provisioning, thick provisioning of the image. There will be a lot of things to talk about here, but we don't have any time. Run-ans means just have this run with this particular option, like mounting an ISO. And then we have our virtual machine virtualized. Of course, there are a lot of things that we have to cover here. I just want to ask you to talk with us, maybe during the lunch. Do ask any question you want, and before saying goodbye, I want to ask you to join our, if you are Italian located in Italy, to join our Italian community called Ovirt Italia. Ovirt Italia has not the intent to override the global community, just to give support in Italian language and for maybe local deployments. So we are now on Facebook and LinkedIn. We are thinking about adding another social, but now you can look for Ovirt Italia on Facebook and LinkedIn. So please join us even today, and thank you very much for your attention. Ok, please.
Quando abbiamo fatto la stessa cosa per VMware per la prima volta, siamo posti il problema del backup, una volta che tu sei fatto l'installazione, che sono 100 nodi dell'engine, esiste una procedura per farne il backup e il dump da qualche parte?
We will take care of the backup of both the engine and the virtual machine. This afternoon, no, at the end of the morning, we have a speech dedicated only to backups, both engine and virtual machine. So our friends from Storeware will cover all and respond to all of your questions about backup.
Yes, there is a tool called the engine backup just for that.
Yeah, engine backup is for the engine, but for the VMs you have more choices. Please, we
would like to have just 10 minutes, no more than 10 minutes of a coffee break. It will be there, as you can see. It's 10 minutes, and please, 11:15 here again. Thank you.